nobody's getting any money unless they, you know.
Unless they're mandated,
Okay.
or statutory. Now, we've got a little bit of money we think that we can fool with, not fool with, it's not the right way to put it.
Got that on tape, Mike.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean that.
Why don't you find some money too?
Yeah, really, I'm sorry. We have a little bit of money that we're looking at to try to help in the drainage area.
I think the commissioners would like to do something with drainage. We know, and again, remember we had that conversation, we know that whether it's going to be a legal claim or whether it's going to just be a straight drainage claim, we have that problem up there that we talked about at Springbrook Plaza. And that's a great place for you just to drive up someday when you're driving up Whipple and go behind you, the old Circuit Center or
just watch,
whatever,
pull over too far
and see how the whole area is eroded out and the pavement is being eaten away, and there's a lot of there's bare wires hanging around and so forth. I mean, it's a mess back there. And,
is that the one that you thought the county could face some kind of liability with? Is that one of the ones?
I think it's the one that we have to put money into to get fixed. I mean,
okay.
we certainly have some responsibility for what's happening there. We don't know what the end number is going to be yet. I don't think.
No.
It's an ongoing discussion. But I mean, that was one for sure. We just know again from all the needs we have that there will be serious drainage needs in the course of it.
So how much, a little bit of money are you talking about that could potentially be put towards drainage or a couple?
And I have to look at Department 35 because I just got handed to, because Rick has been gone for 10 days.
Right.
And he just handed us the Department 35 again today. But we had a conversation with him, at our meeting when we reviewed Department 35 probably a week and a half ago. And that was that all the commissioners and Mike had emphasized that there may be a need or desire to fund of this bottom line tier of entities that look like everyone's going to zero. We may want to give money to the OSU extension and to the soil and water because of the work that they do for us.
So those kind of decisions will be made by tomorrow when you pass the budget, or
no, we don't have to make that decision by tomorrow. Because what we'll be doing is appropriating into the department.
Okay, and then
and we can adjust. I mean, one of the things we have to look at, I believe that we spent slightly more on assigned console last year than was budgeted. But again, I have to look at the numbers that Tom is talking about right now.
Okay. Is there any word from Prosecutor Ferraro whether or not he's going to follow through on his statement that he may be asking the court to appoint special counsel, which if he does, doesn't that kind of cause problems with the budget?
We've heard no further, I certainly personally have heard no further discussion on that particular matter. I would anticipate that the prosecutor will manage his budget from a professional perspective in the same manner that everybody else is managing their cuts.
And at the end of the day, the money for 911 rehab is still there, and it's going to be there, right?
It's still there. We think that, again, to delve into and put everybody's hands and our hands on capital money that's otherwise needed for some very important issues. As we've discussed, the CAD is one possible expenditure. Other parts of the dispatch system were another, but the one that's starting to loom immediately now is there's a movement afoot just in the last really 30 days from many entities, and that is that's a need to get onto 800 radio systems. In order to do that, they have tremendous costs to buy the radios, and part of that idea of that money was that could be used as a match for them to go out and seek other matching funds and so forth. Everybody's looking at 800 radios very, very quickly, though, and again, it was something in the background, something always been discussed. We want everybody on 800 radios because of the communication, inter-communication ability and so forth, but I think what's happening is they are realizing that the FCC is requiring them to do this narrow banding or rebanding, which is going to be expensive to them, and so all of a sudden everybody now this year, and I think that has to be done by the end of the year or early next year, there may be extensions on that, but given that deadline looming, it's therefore focused almost everybody's attentions and even the smaller fire and police departments to look at 800 radios again. That was one of the matters that I indicated when we were talking about this local government initiative fund. I know that Randy Gonzalez, on behalf of a number of communities, is putting together, I think, a grant application in that area with regard to that fund. But everybody's starting to talk about 800 radios again, and it's a good thing, and it's a necessary thing, and It's a very, very important safety thing, perhaps one of the most important safety things we can do, perhaps more important really than centralized dispatch, because dispatch works anyways. The radio systems work anyways, but if we get everybody on the same ones, it would be a good thing. So we just want to keep that money intact.
So federal government requirements and technology is forcing people who were going to stay on pat with existing systems to rethink that? Do I have that correct?
Forcing them to rethink it. They don't have, the federal government is not telling anybody that they have to go to an 800 system, but if they're going to spend money on an older, outmoded system that may have less penetration or be less sophisticated, they're now thinking that, well, maybe if we have to spend the money this way, we might as well spend the money this other way and get up to date.
It's a better use of their money, right?
So everybody, there are several meetings I'm going to, I've gone to a number of meetings already, but I know that the Police Chiefs Association is having a meeting on this Thursday. There's just a series of meetings on this whole subject, just really blossoming right now. So it's an important thing, but it's important. This is an important source of money that we have here that we could use for matches for people so they could actually implement these radio systems.
With the police chiefs, I understand that they were talking about going to the MARC system.
They are looking at that. There are the alternatives are, Canton, Stark County has an 800 megahertz system, and Marks is now building theirs, statewide, and they're making presentations. Actually, that Thursday presentation it's a good one. I recommend everybody to go to that. That's going to be Thursday at 2 o'clock. We've already seen that presentation in Mashillan Township. Mike and I went to it 2 weeks ago, but Daryl Anderson, who was the administrator in charge of the MARC system, former highway patrol officer and other things, very, very good speaker. Knows the system intimately. He's making a presentation. I would imagine it's the same presentation that we saw, but I want to see it again. He's making that presentation next Thursday of this week, right? I think at 2 o'clock at Jackson. I can double check that date for you.
At Jackson?
Yeah, it's a good one for you to see.
Jackson Township Hall?
Safety, it's the safety side though. The safety.
It may not be a
I
public
was just
meeting.
going to say, I don't think it's a public meeting.
Right.
I call Randy. I don't know why they wouldn't want it to be public. If I were Daryl Anderson and the Marks people and the state people, I would want it to be public.
Okay.
Not that it's public, but I don't think it's a secret for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Because I knew that they were talking about Marks and bringing to
Yes, you will learn a lot about it. And it's maybe the system that everybody is on. 10 years from now in the state of Ohio. We talk about there's Mr. Regionalization, Mr. Collaboration. Standing outside our door right there. But this could be the one big statewide one that everybody goes on, just because of the cost of technology and the cost of the
replacement capital costs.
Right. I guess I was just wondering how that plays into the idea of the central dispatching, and because the radios have, the big radio system has been like the wedge,
It's been the wedge, but it also helps if you get everybody on the same system, that it just pulls them closer together, I think.
A lot of those police departments, if they go into Marks, does that create a bigger wedge? Because then you have Marks versus the county system, the county and Canton system. Is that going to make things worse, or?
Is that a contrast that I think Kelly's drawing? Is there a contrast between Marks and the county 800s megahertz? Is there a contrast between the two, or are they integrated?
They're two different radio systems. They can speak to each other because they're both 800 megahertz radio systems. And if they're in the same call groups, they can talk to each other. It's all of its programming in the end. But Mark's system has 5 towers either in or bordering Stark County.
It's not that many. I'm not sure.
I think they were counting the two on
the
on the fringes, but there's a difference in number of towers. The interesting thing to me, and Commissioner Bernabei invited me to the last MARC system discussion, is the replacement costs on these radio systems. Eventually they wear out, or the software is no longer supported, which is how they sell you new systems in everything. And if this ranges anywhere, I've heard huge numbers, $10 million to $20 million for such a radio system to serve Stark County. Where does that capital replacement cost come? And if it's over on the Marks side of it, which is a state system, do they then now you have a state revenue pool, which is of course tremendously larger than a county revenue pool. So I particularly was interested in it because of the capital replacement costs.
Okay, so are we talking about one or the other?
Well, what's going to happen, and again, different entities have choices. You know, again, Canton and Stark County, of course, is the biggest 800 megahertz system. There's different entities on that to include, for example, Canton Water and Stark County Sanitary Sewer. There's non-safety forces using it too, Stark State, SARDA's on it and so forth. So there's different entities using that. The only entity in Stark County right now that's on the MARC system, of course the Highway Patrol is, but the only governmental entity, you know, that we would consider to be local is North Canton. So the city of North Canton just recently went to MARCs. In fact, I'm not sure that they're fully implemented on MARCs yet. I mean, I think they're just partially implemented on MARCs, but they're working their way into it. So it provides an alternative, and everybody's now beginning to look at that MARCs as an alternative to the to the Stark County campus.
So is it just a matter of economics?
It's a matter of economics and other issues that have been incurred with regard to dispatching and 800 megahertz use and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah, common radio use is ultimately a matter of safety.
This is a good thing, really. I mean, this is a significant thing. I mean, if you could go to one of these MARCs briefings, you would, learn a lot about it. An important subject, I think.
I have one more topic I'd like to bring up. You familiar with SCLEPC? This is the Emergency Services.
Pardon? Was that Aretha Franklin?
Pardon?
Was that Aretha Franklin? RES?
No. This is the Stark County emergency system, deals with hazardous waste materials, and Donald McDonald
LEPC?
is
LEPC?
yeah, is the you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes.
He's
I myself have not. Pete is the representative of the board on that.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Pete is a better person to talk about that.
Okay. Well, but let me try you on precise.
Okay.
Director.
This is Valentine's Day. Be careful what you say.
Director McDonald's proposing holding a meeting out at Stark State on March 10th for all local government officials by invitation only. And one of the concerns that's been brought to my attention by some people out in the community is they don't think that the presenters, there's 3 or 4 of them last I knew, represents a balanced view of all sides of the fracking issue. And what his concern is getting a handle on the hazardous materials aspect of fracking, if there are any. Of course, some in the industry deny that there are any. And so the commissioners do have a hand in this, because the commissioners recommend to, I think it's CERC, which is a state agency, as to who serves on this committee, the SCLEPC committee. And so do the commissioners have any interest in having an input with Director McDonald to ensure that public officials get a balanced view of the issue?
I really have to defer on this one only because, again, I'm aware, of course, what LAPC is. They're an agency of the county, but again, I'm not the representative to the board. I've not been, implicitly involved in that. I've seen a proposed schedule of the events that may or may not occur on that day and the speakers. I don't know who the speakers are, though. I don't know the quality of the speakers or particularly what areas or aspects of the fracking situation they look at. It's just an area that's outside of my,
So I need to go to Commissioner Ferguson with that?
He would be, or I would, or go straight to, I'm sorry, who's the in charge? Donald.
Well, I've talked to him, and so I just wonder.
What's he say in response to what you're saying?
Well, I think he feels like it is a balanced presentation, and the only reason I bring it up to you is because I think it is a Stark County agency, and the commissioners do have an input, and whether or not the commissioners have any interest in hearing the complaints of citizens of the county in terms of the balance of the presenters, or are you just going to leave it up to Director McDonald and without any review?
Well, you know me, I'm always happy to jump into something with 2 feet. The problem with doing that, by the way, is to jump into something, by the way, and learn enough about the quality of who he has and who he has not invited and so forth takes a whole bunch of time, and I'm trying to spend a whole bunch of time on other things and so forth. And you're talking about March 10th thing, and I'm sure he wants to publish and get out, and maybe he's already done it. I don't know whether he's already beyond that point.
Yeah, I don't know
So,
if he has or not.
I'm happy to make some, general inquiries, but again, they wouldn't be up to the standard, the normal depth that you would want me to jump into with.
So I can come back in a week or so and you'll have a better handle on it?
Okay, you could do that. You could ask Pete too, though. I would also
Okay.
just only suggest you that, not that I'm passing the buck to Pete, but only because Pete is the guy that goes out to the LEPC meetings, and Pete is aware of this particular forum that's being planned, and I don't know what Pete knows or doesn't know about who he's invited or who he hasn't invited. I don't even know for sure who you're talking about, but that may be, concerned about the width and breadth of the agenda and so forth, or what side that they actually represent.